Most people think Ramadan is about food. But that is surface level. Ramadan is about control over hunger, control over anger, control over desire. In a world addicted to comfort, Islam brings 1 month that strips comfort away, not to break you but to build you. What if the discipline people chase in books, podcasts, and philosophies was already built into Ramadan? What if fasting was never about hunger but about power? Stay with me, because by the end of this video you will never see Ramadan the same way again. Ramadan does not enter your life quietly. It hits you like truth you have been dodging for years. The first morning feels heavy, not because the stomach is empty, but because excuses are gone. No coffee to lean on, no snacks to calm your nerves, no distractions to hide behind, just you, your thoughts, and the clock. And that is when most people realize something uncomfortable. They were never addicted to food. They were addicted to comfort. Modern life trained them to react instantly. Hungry, eat. Bored, scroll. Angry, snap. Tired, quit. Ramadan breaks that programming hard. You wake up half asleep, body heavy, mind foggy, yet you still choose discipline. And that choice matters more than motivation ever will, because discipline is built when you do not feel like it and still show up. By mid-morning, hunger starts whispering, then talking, then negotiating. Just a sip, nobody will know, make it up later. And right there, power is either taken or given away. Most people fold in moments like that. Every day in life, not just in fasting. They obey impulses, then wonder why they feel weak. Ramadan forces you to face that moment daily, and every time you say no, your mind gets stronger. Not hype strong, not quote strong, but real strength that stays when motivation dies. Discomfort is not punishment, it is growth. The Stoics believed suffering was not the enemy, avoiding it was. Islam does not just teach this, it makes you live it hour by hour. By noon, hunger gets loud, energy drops, patience thins. Fake discipline collapses and real discipline shows up. And here is the truth that hits deep. Hunger peaks, then passes. Cravings scream, then quiet down, which means urges lie. They feel permanent, but they are temporary. And once you learn that through Ramadan, you can apply it everywhere. Stress, fear, anger, temptation. You stop reacting and start choosing. And that is where unbreakable discipline is born. By the second week of Ramadan, something shifts. The body still feels it, but the mind is no longer fighting. You are not surviving the fast anymore, you are leading it. And once you realize you can control yourself, life stops controlling you. Most people think strength is loud yelling, flexing, proving something. Ramadan teaches quiet power. You walk around hungry, thirsty, tired, yet still calm, still respectful, still grounded. And that messes with weak minds, because they cannot understand how someone uncomfortable can still be stable. This is where emotional discipline is forged. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you pause instead of snapping. Someone disrespects you and you breathe instead of exploding. Not because you are weak, but because you are in control. Control is the real flex. The Stoics spent their lives chasing the state. Islam hands it to you every year. Ramadan does not remove anger, it reveals it, and revelation is power. You feel irritation rising, you see it clearly, and choose not to act. That choice rewires you. You stop being ruled by mood, you stop being predictable, you stop being easy to provoke. And people feel that energy even if they cannot explain it. Late afternoon fatigue hits, and this is where most people mentally quit in life, saying, I will do it tomorrow. Ramadan does not let you run. You still show up, you still act right, you still carry yourself with dignity. This builds self-trust. And self-trust creates quiet confidence, not loud ego. When sunset finally arrives, food tastes, earned water feels sacred, and you realize how numb you were before consuming without gratitude. Ramadan resets your nervous system, priorities, and perspective. You stop chasing excess and start valuing enough. This is not just religion, this is mental conditioning. This is why Ramadan creates disciplined, grounded people, and grounded people win long-term. There is a moment in Ramadan that separates people who are changing from people who are just fasting. It happens when no one is watching and the struggle feels private. The kitchen is quiet, the day is long, and the mind starts playing tricks. You could eat and nobody would ever know. And that is when integrity steps in, because integrity is not what you do when eyes are on you, it is what you do when you are alone. Ramadan trains this daily, and that is why it builds real character. The Stoics believed a man should live as if someone is always watching his soul. Islam takes that idea and makes it practical. You do not fast for applause, you fast for God. And that intention changes everything. Hunger becomes meaningful, struggle becomes purposeful. You stop asking how hard this is and start asking who you are becoming. Urges hit harder when you are tired and alone, but every time you resist, you gain authority over yourself. And authority over yourself is the highest rank a human can hold. Because once you can govern your own impulses, nothing external can dominate you. Life throws stress, pressure, disrespect, and temptation, but they all bounce differently off a disciplined mind. Ramadan shows you that you were never weak, you were just untrained. And training always feels uncomfortable before it feels empowering. As the days keep moving, the discipline from fasting starts leaking into everything else. The way you talk, the way you listen, the way you move through the world. You notice yourself speaking less, reacting slower, choosing words with more care. Not because you are forcing it, but because restraint has become natural. Ramadan teaches you that not every thought deserves a voice and not every emotion deserves action. And that realization is life-changing. Most problems people create come from saying or doing something in a heated moment. Fasting puts space between stimulus and response, and that space is freedom. The Stoics called it mastery of the self. Islam calls it taqwa, awareness and presence before God. Different language, same truth. You become harder to shake, harder to provoke, harder to pull off center. People around you feel that energy even if they do not understand it. You are not louder, you are steadier. Not aggressive but grounded. Fatigue still shows up, but it no longer controls. You learn to function without being perfect, and that builds mental toughness. You stop needing ideal conditions to act right. When you can stay disciplined while hungry, tired, and irritated, you can stay disciplined anywhere. Ramadan builds leaders from the inside out because it trains consistency, not hype, patience, not ego, and control, not chaos. This is the kind of discipline that survives pressure, and that is why its impact lasts long after the month ends. At some point in Ramadan, you stop counting the hours and start noticing the change inside. Hunger no longer scares you, thirst no longer panics you, and discomfort no longer feels like an emergency. And that is a dangerous upgrade, because most people live their entire lives running from discomfort. They avoid it, numb it, distract from it. Ramadan forces you to sit with it and realize you are still okay. This rewires how you deal with pressure everywhere else. Deadlines, stress, rejection, conflict. They all feel different when you know you can endure without falling apart. The Stoics trained themselves to imagine worst-case scenarios so fear would lose power. Ramadan does the same thing, but through real experience. You feel the lack and survive it. And once you know you can survive lack, abundance stops controlling you. You stop chasing every comfort because you are no longer afraid of being uncomfortable. That is mental independence. And mental independence creates real freedom, not freedom to do whatever you want, but freedom from being ruled by cravings, mood, and fear. This is where inner power becomes visible in the way you carry yourself, speak, and decide. Another shift happens quietly. Gratitude replaces entitlement. Before Ramadan, food was automatic, water was background noise, and comfort was expected. Fasting changes that fast. Every bite at sunset feels earned, every sip feels intentional. And that gratitude spills into other areas of life. You start appreciating effort, people, time, and opportunities instead of taking them for granted. This mindset kills arrogance and builds humility without weakness. The Stoics warned that entitlement makes people fragile because they expect the world to serve them. Ramadan trains the opposite. You learn to be thankful for little and steady during lack, which makes you resilient. You stop complaining as much because you see how much you actually have. Even while fasting, you are not suffering, you are choosing restraint. And that choice builds dignity. Gratitude grounds you and keeps ego in check. And a grounded person cannot be easily manipulated, shamed, or provoked. This is how Ramadan quietly strengthens character in ways that last longer than motivation ever could. By the final stretch of Ramadan, something solid has formed inside you. Not excitement, not hype, but stability. You no longer need constant motivation because discipline has taken its place. You wake up knowing you can handle discomfort without falling apart, and that confidence is real. Not loud, not performative, just steady. The Stoics believed the strongest people were the ones least dependent on external conditions. Islam teaches the same truth through fasting. When you can function with less, you become harder to control with more. Fear loses leverage because you trust yourself to endure, temptation loses power because you know urges rise and fall, and pressure stops feeling personal because you are anchored internally. Ramadan turns chaos down and clarity up. You start making decisions from values instead of emotion, and that shift quietly separates leaders from followers in every area of life. When Ramadan comes to an end, the real test begins. Not whether you can fast, but whether you can carry the discipline forward. Because Ramadan was never meant to stay in 1 month, it was meant to change how you live all 12. The patience you learned with hunger applies to ambition. The restraint you practiced with anger applies to relationships. The self-control you built with desire applies to success. This is Islam's secret to unbreakable discipline, not domination of others, but mastery of the self, and mastery of the self is the highest form of power a human can reach. If this message resonated with you, take a moment and comment your reflection below, because your words might strengthen someone else on this path. Subscribe to this channel if you want more content that sharpens the mind and builds inner power. And press the bell icon so you never miss future lessons that help you stay disciplined, calm, and unbreakable in a world addicted to distraction. Ramadan was never meant to end when the month ends. It was meant to stay in the way you think, react, and choose. If you can control yourself when you are hungry, you can control yourself when life gets hard. That is real discipline, that is real power. If this message spoke to you, comment your reflection below, because your words may strengthen someone else. Subscribe to this channel for wisdom that sharpens the mind and builds inner power, and press the bell icon so you never miss future lessons that help you stay calm, focused, and unbreakable.